So under the assumption that wokeism is a religion, because I agree, it has all the tenets of a religion. How do you fight back against that?
Ah,
How do we fight
well,
back?
we actually have legal tools at our disposal, which, by the way, cut both ways. One of the reasons that I've been laying it out is that you need to lay the intellectual groundwork to make a case that when they start teaching this stuff, for example, in the public schools or imposing it in the workplace, that they are in fact establishing a religion. And I believe that
Say that
argument.
again. No, say that again for
Right.
me. Give me that
So
again.
when you go into a public school and
Right.
teach systemic racism
Right.
or queer gender theory, okay, that is imposing a religion, right? Now,
Well, wait a minute. Is it okay? But they would argue that they're not. First of all, they don't want to be called a religion for all the
right.
obvious reasons. But they would certainly argue whether they're teaching what is it, queer gender theory or whatever that nonsense is that they're, force feeding everyone. That is just an inclusive idea. It's an inclusive message to make everyone feel good or feel, belonging. They're
Well,
not. I mean, that by itself doesn't rise to that threshold, though.
well, it does, and that's a claim, by the way. Okay, there are two very important universal faiths: Christianity and Islam. And Christianity and Islam would say exactly the same things, right? Our message is for all of humanity, right? The message that we bring from God is telling people how to live aligned with God's will and in harmony with each other. Right? That's exactly the same claim that both Christianity and Islam would make for everybody, including non-Christians and non-Muslims. That's what it means to be a universal faith. And there's no problem with teaching this stuff as long as you teach it as something that some people believe. Okay? I find it completely
That's the
objective.
intolerance. Everyone has to believe this, or you're damned and you're going to hell.
Yeah,
basically.
and that's the point. And one of the other things is that it's a matter of how you present it. If a Christian friend comes to me and says, as a matter of Christian faith, I believe that the wafer and wine of communion become the flesh and blood of Christ, I can accept that as a matter of their faith. If somebody came to me and said, look, man, it's simple biochemistry, wafer, wine, communion equals flesh and blood, then I'd say, great, let's go to a biochem lab and see if it works. Check it out. Okay? So the same statement, if you put it forward as an element of your faith, I think that's great, and I think it's important, and I think we should teach it. I think it's completely appropriate to teach that some people believe that race is the defining criterion of all of American history. I think it's horrible to teach that that racism is the defining criterion of American history. Right? I mean, this is the difference. Some people believe a man can declare himself to be a woman. Well, that's an accurate statement.
He can. It just doesn't mean that all of us have to go along with it and affirm it. And
Absolutely.
it's when you try to force it on everyone from the top down and impose the belief system that it becomes the problem.
Yeah, but wait a minute. And I agree with you, Eric, 100%. This cancer, because that's what this is. This is a cancer. Is so deeply penetrated now into federal government, the teachers unions, the stuff we talk about and rail about. So I was going to say, Dr. Abramson, you said call you Bruce. Bruce, how do we get it out? I mean, your book, The New Civil War, part of it is about the American Restoration.
Mhm.
So how do you restore America to, let's call them those core values that we certainly, I would say preach here, but no one likes to be preached to, that we talk about on the show. How do you restore America in the face of this intolerant new religion that is being forced upon everybody?
So that actually touches upon two related things that I've written about. One is I believe that the reason that this stuff is so pervasive is that America is suffering from a deep spiritual crisis. And that comes from a misunderstanding of our own spiritual traditions. And we need to reconnect with them. We need to reinvigorate traditional faith in this country. We need to reinvigorate.
But how? I'm a nuts and bolts guy. Tell me the hill. Tell me the mission. Tell me the hill. Tell me the materials I have to take the hill, and then tactically, I'm going to go do that. How do
So
we?
there are two things. First of all, the actual leadership has to come from within those faith traditions. And there are people and there are denominations who've been thinking a lot about it. But we also have to enable it. I mean, I think that we've done a terrible disservice in drawing these lines between religions and ideologies and philosophies, between symbols of faith and quote unquote secular symbols.
You mean separation of church and state has gone too far? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think that what we have is not a separation of church and state. I think we have a denigration of church.
War on religion.
Yeah, I think that we need
no argument here.
I think that we need to reopen that. But there's a broader problem that goes beyond that, and that is that contemporary society, I mean, life in the 21st century is very complicated. And we need a lot of advisors and we need a lot of experts and we need people to explain to us what's going on. We can't do all this stuff on our own. You can't build your own cars and understand your own insurance policies and do any of these things. We need people to tell us what's happening. Yet none of our institutions are trustworthy. There isn't a single major institution. By the way, every major institution has pockets of excellence and really good people on the inside, but the institutions themselves, I mean,
you mean the leadership. So you're talking rank and file versus leadership. It's the same argument we make about teachers unions. The leaders of the teachers are the issue. The teachers themselves generally try to do good work and try to be non-political, most of them.